welcome. Thank you for joining me for my daily sketch. Today I'm going to be doing this cute little bungalow. I'm working off my iPad, a piece of watercolor paper, and I've got my Lamy Safari pen with waterproof ink. So I'm going to start in the middle. I'm going to get that door in first, and then I'm going to work my way around. I think I find I could keep my perspective better if I start in the center and work out. And I was going to do my dip pen, but got some trees in there and grasses, and I prefer my Lamy Safari pen when I'm doing grasses and trees. It just seems to glide a little bit better. So this is a cute little bungalow that's located in Port Salerno, Florida. And it's a little town on the east coast of Florida. And it's a big fishing area. I think they've had some record-breaking fish caught there. So they do a lot of tournaments. So this is a really cute house that you can rent, and it's got all those buoys and the ship wheel on the door. I thought it was a really sweet little home. I pretty much kept everything in this. I did everything on this sketch because it's pretty basic, which is nice. It's not too busy. I just changed the chair colors because I didn't like the green and white. I did a different color on the chairs. I think it worked out better. And those buoys were a little close together, but that's okay. And I'm just kind of I kind of dotted in the top of that, or the end of that awning, because it's scalloped, and I'll put that in later. But I'm just looking to see like where the awning stops and starts with the door, and then where the window stops and starts with the door, and just kind of always looking back at the other things that I've already put down, and then making sure I put everything else in the correct area around them. So that chair is in the front of the steps, so I'm going to get that in first. Adirondack chairs are not easy. Especially on an angle. So I put some of the back rest and then get those arms in there. And they're not going to be perfect. I'm not looking for perfect. As long as it looks like an Adirondack chair, I'll be happy. And we'll be putting a little bit of watercolor on over this. So if it's not perfect, the watercolor will cover some flaws. And then we're going to ink over it again too, so I'm going to start off with ink, and then we're going to do watercolor, and then finish off with another layer of ink. And the chairs are a little different, but mine are going to kind of look similar. I think the back of the chairs could have been maybe a little higher, but it's okay. And then there's some steps coming out. There's a little flower pot on that one step. And then the fire pit in front of that. So I'll go ahead and put that flower pot in. Because the wood of that in the fire pit kind of hides some of the bottom of that pot. So I like the blue of this house too, with the, what is that called? Like a shingled siding, I guess. I like that. That looked really cool. And just putting in lines and putting in those creases of that wood, just a hint of it here and there. And one more. And then there's a little paver patio in the back there. And I just wing it with the plants, just kind of I go real fast and get that feel for palms. Just a loose sketch of plants always for me. A lot of grasses on the left there. I like those plants on the top there, these that I'm putting in right now. I don't know what those are. I think they're really cool looking. They're gonna make a nice addition to this sketch. And I'm not going to put in the excuse me, the wheel on the door. I'm going to leave that off, and I'll put that on after I do the paint, because I feel like if I put ink on and then I put like a light color over it, sometimes that ink will kind of wash into the yellow, and I want to make sure that yellow is nice and bright. So we'll put that yellow in first, and then we'll let that dry and then put the details over that. And I have a blow dryer next to me. So if I'm impatient and don't want to wait, I just hit it with a blow dryer and then go ahead and finish whatever I want to do on top of that. So that was a yellow cadmium medium for that door. And then this, I'm mixing just a tiny bit of ultramarine blue and cobalt blue with a little bit of water, or a lot of water and a little bit of white. And that siding is pretty weathered, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You want to kind of leave it a little spotty. Using Payne's Gray for the windows. Straight Payne's Gray with some water to lighten it up a little bit. And then I'm going to do the greenery with the phthalo green light and the cadmium yellow. If you've seen my other videos, I just like my greens light. I've done some darker greens, and I've got sap green and the phthalo light green, and those are the only two greens I have. I could probably mix a green of my own, but I had somebody leave me a comment on a green that she used, and I'm going to have to get that green because she said she really liked it, and I can't remember what it was, but I'll include that in the next video. I think it was hooker green. But I like my green, this green. I've had comments it's too light, but I want my paintings to be light. I just like the softer look. And I'm just going to put a little bit of yellow and white into those buoys, and then I am just dropping a little bit of red, a little pop of alizarin crimson mixed with a little bit of orange. And then for that pot, or the fire pit, excuse me, I did a little brown into that mix then. And this is burnt sienna. I'm just trying to get a little burnt sienna in my mix, because those are pretty weathered, so I'm just trying to throw in some different colors into those. And then I'm doing cobalt, or no, I'm sorry, this is a, it's a turquoise hue, straight with a little bit of water. And that's what I decided to put on those chairs instead of the green and the white. I kind of wanted them to be the same. And then a little bit darker blue for the shadow. I just added a little bit more ultramarine blue to that. And then I'm doing just a little bit underneath all of those shingles. For a little shading. And the stairs, I'm doing the gray again, the Payne's gray. It's kind of like a cement base to the house. And I went too far down. So if you do that, just wet the area and then just blot it off, and it came right off. And then there's a paver, so I'm just doing spots of red, that red mixture that I had in the palette, to just give a hint of paver bricks. And then Payne's gray again for some shadows. I love painting. It's just so interesting how you do a layer and it just can look flat, and then you just keep going and things start to really take shape with each step you take. And I'm just doing a little bit of brown for the wood, and then back to a little bit darker Payne's gray for that planter. Pop my green into those, the plant in the planter, and then I'm going back in with the Payne's gray again, but a little bit darker, not so much water, and underneath those awnings. I'm adding a little bit of red to my green, just to deepen it a little bit. And then there's hints of some grass growing through the sand, so I'm just speckling in some grass down at the lower part. And I'm going to go in with my Tombow, and there's a really faint hint of the door detail, so I went in with a really light Tombow. And this is not waterproof, so I'm done putting watercolor on, so I feel safe to go ahead and put that on. And I like that because it was a nice light color. I didn't want to use a pen because it was a very soft detail. But now I'm using my Faber-Castell 0.5, and that way I have a little more control to put in that wheel. And that Faber-Castell pen, I will have a link to those underneath the video in the description. They're great because they have two sides to them. Right now I'm using the brush end, and for that door I used the fine point. So you have two choices on these as well. Great for those little details like this. There's like little stripes in those awnings. And I feel like I have a little bit better control when I'm using that as opposed to the watercolor. And then I'm outlining that roof line where the shingles are with the Faber-Castell 0.5, and there's a little light fixture there. And then doing that vent, putting in the darker parts of the opening of the vent. And I like to underline the window details just underneath for a little shadowing. Make those windows stand out a little bit better. And this is the finer point, the 0.1 for these little details. So when I put the watercolor over the ink, the original ink marks, they can kind of get washed out and faded. So I go over them again with the Faber-Castell. This is the 0.1, very fine detail, and just I want to outline that both those chairs again. And there's two little darker lines on the end of each of those awnings, so I'm going in with a darker Tombow and just sketch those in real quickly. I'm doing another Tombow for a little shadow underneath each of those buoys. Give them some, make them look round, a little more round, make them pop. And there's a bunch of them there in the grass. So we are getting there. It's looking good. Looking cute. I'm going to go back in, put some splatters in with the house color. Just wet your brush real good, wet the paint real good, and then I just tap it on my finger and put in some little splatters in the top. And I think I got a couple in the bottom of the painting as well. And I'll pick up the Faber-Castell 0.1 and just kind of do a little outline of the here and there of those shingles. And a little bit of the planter and the wood. And this is it. So you can see how pretty that the pen looks over. The only thing I did put on there that I didn't have on camera was I put a little bit of Tombow into the wheel for shadowing underneath and on the sides and on the top, just to give it a little shadow. But other than that, it's Port Salerno, Florida. And it was named Salerno because there were a lot of Italians. So they named it Salerno, like Salerno, Italy, but it's Salerno, Florida. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something that you can use. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and leave me a comment. And I want to thank you for joining me on my daily sketch. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye for now.